Hey everyone, welcome back to the Movie Buddy. I'm your host, Josh Blumenkrantz. And today I'm thrilled to be joined by Emmy-winning writer, producer, director, and co-creator of one of my favorite shows, Hacks, Jen Statsky. Jen, thanks so much for joining me. How are you today?
Good, doing well. How are you?
I'm great. I'm still reeling from the show. It's only been a few months, but I miss it, and I think you guys just ended it so beautifully.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we're all like grieving the end of it. It's really hard. It's hard to say goodbye to any show anytime you end it, but a show this meaningful where, we just it was our baby and then we came to love our cast and crew so much. Like it's very hard to say goodbye.
Oh,
So
I
so
bet.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm reeling still too.
No, of course. And I just want people to know a little bit about you because I know you graduated from NYU. You were working at a coffee shop performing stand-up,
Yeah.
interning at like places like SNL, Conan O'Brien, and now you've co-created and directed an Emmy-winning series. And I just want to know, when you look back at your younger version of yourself, what part of career would you like surprise her the most?
I mean, honestly, like I think the whole thing kind of because yeah, all that is correct. I went to NYU, but before that, I grew up in a suburb outside of Boston and I really didn't have any connection to the industry whatsoever. Like my parent, my mom was a nurse and my dad was a like building inspector for the city, didn't even graduate high school. Like I didn't know that working in Hollywood was an option. I just knew that I loved TV and movies, specifically TV. I grew up as a kid watching a ton of Nick at Night and shows like The Mary Tyler Moore Show and
Oh
Dick
yeah.
Van Dyke were like my first things I became obsessed with. And so I just knew I loved it, but I didn't really understand that it was like a job you could have. So I think flash forward to this, the fact that I'm working in this industry is just the whole thing is a dream, really.
No, of course. And you're someone who definitely knows comedy, I've noticed. And I just wanted to know, when did you first feel like you truly belonged in a television's writer's room?
It's a good question. It was not like it's one of those things that I always tell young writers, like when you get your first job, like I think I used to think like, oh, once I get my first paid writing job, I'll feel really just like I've arrived and it's all easy and good from there on out. And to be honest, like once I got my first writing jobs, I was like more insecure than ever. It was a
Mm.
real learning curve. Like my first writing job was writing on Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, and that was this was back in 2011, and that was like a great testing ground for learning how to write jokes because I was a monologue writer. So I just had to write an incredible number of jokes every day. But it's late night is a world where you write 5 pages of jokes and you're lucky if a
Yeah.
one of them makes it on the show that day. And then every single thing goes in the trash and you have to start all over for the next day, which was really hard because you'd get a run of like 5 bad days in a row where you didn't get much
Mm.
on, and like you get, it's sort of I would always feel sort of like a baseball player in a slump or something. It was really hard to like mentally get out of it. And then I transitioned into narrative TV, and that was a similar thing of just, my first writer's room was a show on HBO called Hello Ladies. I was there only for like a few months, and then Parks and Rec was my first like full-time long-term writing room job, and that was also really intimidating, narrative
Mhm.
TV, figuring out story, figuring out how to pitch story and, act breaks and stuff. That was not something I had done before, even though I had gone to film school and so I'd written scripts, but um, it really is just one of those things that it took so much experience and like getting comfortable in my own skin to feel like I deserve to be there.
And you do deserve to be there.
Thanks.
Of
Thank you.
course.
Thanks. Yeah, some days. I still get in slumps. So yeah.
No, of course. And speaking of your hard work, Hacks has received a record-breaking 24 Emmy nominations for its final season, making this the last time the series will be represented at the Emmys. What does this final recognition mean to you? And does it feel different knowing that it's the show's last award season?
Yeah, I mean it's such an incredible honor and we all felt like so overwhelmed and happy, the morning nominations came out. I think what's really cool about it is that the fact that there's more nominations than we've ever had means that so many more people got recognized for the very first time.
Yeah.
And I think that like Meg Stalter, for example, or Carlos Rafael Rivera and David Stahl are composers who are nominated for Best Original Song. Like things like that, like the people that hadn't been recognized on the show before
Mhm.
finally getting recognition in the last season. Like I think that's a really lovely part of this send off for us.
No, I'm so happy for them, especially Megan and everyone else who got nominated because they do such great work on the show. And
Yeah,
it's
yeah, or like Lauren Weedman, like someone who is a working actor who's been in so many wonderful TV shows, and for her to finally get recognized as Mayor Joe in the last season, like just things like
Mhm.
that is just really special.
Absolutely. And now you, Paul W. Downs, and Lucia Aniello aren't just creative partners. You describe one each other or one another as family. How do they bring out a different side of you creatively? Do the three of you naturally like gravitate towards writing certain characters, or do you all contribute to like every storyline?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, Paulucci and I have known each other a really long time now. We are like family. I think what's nice is that comedy is so much about connection with other people. You're literally trying to elicit a response out of someone. You're trying to get them to laugh.
Hmm.
And I think the reason they burn out the best in me writing wise is they're the funniest people to me. Like when we all met doing Upright Citizens Brigade Theater in New York, like this comedy theater way back in, 2010 or 2009 even. I just remember being like, "Oh, they're so incredibly funny. I just want to like be in their orbit and see what they're doing. And if I can make them laugh, amazing." And it's still kind of like that. And I think that's something that is sort of part of the magic of why, or part of the magic of what made hacks work, is that it started from the three of us just trying to make each other laugh and just trying
Hmm.
to be better for each other and be like, what about this idea? What about that? And it's like they're such an they're I trust them so much as creators, but also as my audience. Like if they like something or think something's really funny, that gives me confidence that it's really worth doing. And so I think that is part of why us working together is makes for a better show.
No, absolutely. You guys work together so well. And I love the support that you guys do for each other. Like I saw you guys at the Keb Asthma premiere supporting Hannah. And then you guys saw like Gene Smart's play. So I just really love that you guys like are truly like friends outside of this.
Yeah, yeah, we really are. Like this show for lots of reasons bonded us all together forever. We started shooting the show in the deepest time of COVID where people were
Yeah.
wearing two masks and a shield, and it was still pre-vaccine, really scary times. And from that to deaths and births and everything in between, like I think we're really it sounds cliche sometimes when people are like we're a family, but it does feel like a familial relationship. We love Jean, we love Hannah, we love our cast. We want to just, us going to support Hannah. It's like what's nice is it never feels like something you have to do. It's like it's such a joy to get to see what she's doing next and just the way she's like thriving. And same with Jean. Like that's why, we'll always go see Jean. And we go see like we go to her son's high school theater productions at too.
Oh,
So that's real family stuff.
I love that.
He's very
And
good. He's good.
oh, that's great. I'll have to check it out. And then speaking of Jean and Hannah, Jean's brought like decades of experience to Hacks, while Hannah, this was her first major acting role. Was there something either actor discovered in Deborah or Ava that changed how you understood or wrote the characters?
That's a good question. I mean, I think that when we crafted Deborah, we knew that she would have exactly what Jean brought to it in spades, which is this, hard funny for someone who is a comedian who speaks in jokes, who is always looking for the joke, but beneath that is like a real layer of loneliness and vulnerability and years of trauma that she's protecting. And we knew Jean would be unbelievable at playing that because she's just so gifted at both the comedy and the drama. So I think what Jean brought to that was just like, nailing that to the upteenth degree. Like there's for my money, no one better at both comedy and drama than Jean Smart. And then I think with Hannah, the thing that's really lovely about it is that Ava was a character that was a little less. I mean, we spent a ton of time developing her and stuff, but like Deborah Vance, we always pitch the show as this character study of Deborah Vance. And so we had this all this backstory and lots of, character details for her. But as the younger character who's just like lived less life, there was less um in that way to kind of layer in. And Hannah brought to it Hannah as a comedian, as an incredibly talented stand-up and comedic performer, and just like one of the funniest people I've ever met just in life in general.
Hmm.
She brings to it a way to deliver jokes, a certain comedy cadence, a certain delivery that is so unique and so specific to her that there's no way I don't think we could have envisioned that or like perfectly written it. It just became so apparent once Hannah auditioned. And then the more we got to know her over the seasons, you just write to that. You write to deliver things the way Hannah will be funny saying it. And that's one of the joys of making a comedy that I love. And I love about working on whether it's Hacks for 5 seasons or The Good Place for 4 or Parks
Hmm.
and Rec in its final 2 seasons. Like the longer a comedy goes, the more, I mean, the longer any show goes, an actor settles into the character. But I think with comedy specifically, you settle into comedic rhythms and a unique voice that maybe you don't know from the very jump of a pilot, but you get to like develop that further and further and lean into it in your writing and directing and creating. And it just makes it, I don't know, it just makes it richer and deeper. And I think it's what makes audiences fall in love with it more.
Oh, for sure. And like I just love their evolution over the course of the entire show. Like it's a comedy, but there's some dramatic stuff in it and it just feels so real to life, you know?
Yeah, yeah. That was always the intention, that it would be hard comedy first, always funny, but that their relationship would be at times this toxic, up and down, really difficult thing that they would both have to navigate, and that would ultimately both make them better, but in the end, but also lead to some serious conflict along the way.
For sure. And Jimmy and Kayla, they've always been like the comic relief, but the relationship I think is genuinely meaningful. When did
Mm.
you realize Paul and Megan Stalter's chemistry could carry something more emotional?
Yeah, that was one of the really cool discoveries of the show, honestly. Like we talk a lot about how we had pitched the show as a 5 season arc and we knew where it would end. And we always did know that. And we always did know that Deborah and Ava would be the backbone of this show and be so important to it. But I don't think, or I know we didn't necessarily know the Jimmy Kayla relationship would turn into this kind of mirror image of Deborah and Ava. They would be their own
Mm.
work wives duo in the same way. That wasn't, Kayla was the character of Kayla was in the initial pitch, but in the initial first season, but it wasn't as rich and developed as it became, and that was really due to seeing the incredible chemistry that Paul and Meg had. They have this like the same way Gene and Hannah do. They just have this like really special comedic magic, and I think that we just realized like, oh, we need to write to that more.
Mhm.
And the other thing is that they're both phenomenal actors. Like Paul does such an amazing job at something that is really hard to do, which is he plays the straight man to Kayla, but he
Yeah.
also funny doing it, which isn't easy because a lot of times like a straight man might go into sort of like just like a nagging scold and people are like, oh, let the comedy character have her fun. But like he's so funny playing the straight man, which is not easy to do. And so I think just as we kept making the show and realizing that what they had was so special and it made us laugh so much and it was so rich. And we also just heard from so many people who love them together that we really started, writing to that more. And that was cool because it was like a good lesson in you need to have planned so much. Anytime you're making something, you think about it ad nauseum and you need to be prepared, but you also have to be open to discoveries.
No, definitely. I love their chemistry so much, and especially in QuikScribbl. So you made your directorial debut with QuikScribbl. So after writing and producing Hacks for so many years, what made this the right episode for you to direct, and what stepping behind the camera allowed you to express differently?
Yeah. Um, I mean, honestly, like I've had such a master class in directing from getting to see Lucia and Paul, but Lucia, has directed the majority of the series,
Mhm.
direct that I just like had the best shadow experience a director could have, which is watching them do it for so long. And I think that, we always we make the show in a super collaborative way. The three of us are in every day of the writer's room pretty much, or very much, other than times we have to step out for meetings. And then we all are on set, and then we all are in the edit. Like we don't divide and conquer and say like, oh, okay, you do the cut of this and I'll be on set this day. Like we're really all hands on deck for all of it, which is I think what makes the product or make the show so good is all of our eyes on it and attention to it. But that being said, because Lucia and Paul directed the majority of the episodes, like directing is an incredible amount of prep
Yeah.
and scouting and shot listing and all this stuff that I just felt like fine. I was like, okay, I should take some of that workload off their plate. And then it's also just, anytime in a creative field, I think it's like really important to challenge yourself and to push yourself to do stuff. Like anytime you're like, ooh, that scares me, it's probably a little bit worth following it. It probably scares you because there's something interesting worth doing on the other side of it. And directing was really scary to me, like despite the fact I had been on set for every day of the show and many sets before of comedies, like never having directed, it was really intimidating to me. But I think it's important to do stuff you're scared of as a creative because that's how you like keep growing and you don't grow complacent and like just like that fear and that anxiety it shuffles things around in you and keeps you fresh, I think.
No, for sure. And I thought you did beautiful with the direction. I actually rewatched the episode before we hopped on here.
Oh,
And
thank you.
of course. And I love what you said. You said that technology is increasingly being pushed upon us in ways that can take away our humanity and our ability to choose. I just want to know, as a writer, where does technology stop being a useful tool and start taking something essential away from the artist?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, it's obviously very relevant right now, and a lot of people are talking about it. And I think like, AI and technology, it's obviously done amazing things for many people. And so I don't, it's not that I'm anti-technology at all, and I recognize its value in like medical fields and what it, all of that. But I just think that if and when a creative person is getting to the point where they're at a crossroads or they're stuck on something or they can't figure something out, and you use technology to give you that answer rather than sit with it and like have the experience of wrestling with it and not understanding it and not figuring it out, like that's where it starts to get really worrisome to me and scary because I think it's like I've written, for like 15 years now professionally, and all of the things that stick in my mind the most aren't really like the times that I hit like a or someone hit like a eureka, that's the pitch, that's perfect, that's great, whatever. I think a lot about like times where I tried to figure out an episode and it just couldn't work, or we tried to, and like that's like part of it. That's part of making the work, is that struggle and that wrestling with like, oh, actually, no, that isn't what the characters want to do or say, or that isn't the thing I want to explore. Like, and you won't come to understand that and know that on your own if you don't think about it yourself and
Mm.
wrestle with it yourself. And so that's where it gets really scary to me is like the point in which people are not asking the questions of themselves and not answering it for themselves.
No, for sure. And I could say that no AI can take away what work you guys do because like it just has so much life to it. And honestly, I can't see it going any other way.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, yeah. I don't think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And just two more questions and I'll let you go. So the line, I may not have 30 years, but I think I've still got one more hour. So just that creating gives Deborah a reason to continue. After spending 5 seasons making hacks, did Deborah's relationship with her work change how you think about your own need to create?
Yeah, I think it definitely did. I think, what we explore in the final season is Deborah, she comes into it so concerned with her legacy. Her obituary has been falsely printed and she's been accused of killing late night and she doesn't like the way she's been remembered for her accomplishments. And so she is off on this journey to break a record and to sell out Madison Square Garden and then has to pivot and do Central Park and all this. And it's all really important to her. And part of what makes her great is that she's scrappy and she's always fighting and always finds a way to win at the end of the day, despite her losses. But what we come to see in that final episode is that she, even after all of that, when she says, like, I want to go out on top, I've done all the things, I don't necessarily have another accomplishment that I need to hit, she realizes that there's value in living just purely for the creative process of making things with her collaborator Ava. And I think that's, the journey of Hacks has always been meta in that it's about creative collaboration, and the show is made through creative collaboration, of course. And I think that's also a place I landed at the end of it, is that, like, the connection with your creative collaborators and then therefore the connection with your audience when you put the work out into the world
Mm.
is the most important thing. And you'll have ups and downs, you'll have moments of great success, hopefully, and then you'll also inevitably have moments of failure. But you have to stay focused on that connection and the joy of creating it just for the sake of creating it and detaching it from the result. I do think is, like, really key to maintaining a career in this business.
Well said. I just love how it all comes full circle from like beginning to end. It's beautiful. And then my
Mhm.
last question for you, Jen. I want to know now that Hacks has reached its conclusion, what kind of story or genre that you not like been allowed to express yet for yourself? Like, what's next for you?
It's a great question. I mean, Paul and she and I are working on a show for HBO. We've been
Nice.
so lucky to be with HBO, and so we're very happy to continue our creative collaboration with them. It's interesting. There's no, like, genre or story area that I haven't done or that I haven't done and want to do. It's more just like the same way with Deborah and Ava. It felt like this relationship we hadn't exactly seen on screen before, two women of different ages who are creative collaborators. Like, I think for us and me, and it's looking not necessarily a genre or story area that feel new, but like just relationships that feel fresh and different and haven't been depicted before. That's what we're really focusing on.
Oh no, that's amazing. I can't wait to see it. And I hope you do more directing too, because I really love that episode. Like there's so
Oh,
much that goes on and it just fit the tone of the show so well.
thank you. Thank you so much.
And yeah, I guess that's our time. Jen, thank you so much for joining me today on the Movie Buddy. I really appreciate it. Wishing you all the best. And I
Thank you.
really admire you so much. Thank you so much.
Cool. Thanks so much. Have a good one.
Thanks. You too. Bye.
Bye.